Cut.
Hello, this is Damon Meld Show. Today I'm with X-Treme Bait Tanks. I'm with Brad Whitehead. How you doing?
Man, I'm great.
We're on Lake Pickwick. Beautiful day, a little warm. But
Hey, it's last time you were here, it was a little cold.
right,
so
so
now,
we get to make up for it.
you know, we're here in August, and boy, this right here is one beautiful tank.
Thank
Damon.
you.
You have overdone it.
Thank you. It's interesting to see the evolution of these tanks since we've had them for the last 3-4 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, what you have, we think, is actually something very special, not just for this lake and your bait, but really all baits. So we're getting the feedback we need. But let's talk a little bit about you. So you and I have known each other going on 3 years, is it?
Yes, sir.
Because you were one of the first contacts, and I can't remember how that came about.
Well, I think I give you a call.
Okay.
I was actually kind of scanning the internet. I was getting back into doing some live bait trips. I
Gotcha.
do crappie trips here on Pickwick and Wilson Lake, and I come across X-Treme bait tanks. I was in Panama City.
Yep.
I remember it very well, and I give you a call, and you
Gotcha.
answered the telephone.
Yeah.
I didn't have to go through anybody. You answered the telephone.
Still do that today. You know, I can't tell you how many people's like, well, I didn't expect you to answer. I said, well, you called me, didn't you?
Well, and you know, that makes it, that's huge, especially
Yeah.
you take a guide. We don't want to try to go through 7 people to talk to the man behind making the product.
Gotcha.
And
yeah.
you know, I've never forgot that. I remember you coming down that fall and us fishing, setting up some outdoor riders, and to me, that's how a working relationship works, as far as anything to do with the fisherman and the company.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I can't tell you how happy we are to be on your boat. And again, we appreciate the invitation back down. And we're going to see if we can catch some bait and take it from there. And speaking of bait, what are we going to look for?
threadfin shad.
Okay.
We call them yellowtails. There's a few gizzard shad also, but
Right.
threadfin shad is kind of like the candy for these smallmouths. So that's what we're going to be
Now,
after.
if I remember right, last time those were about 2-3 inches maybe?
Yeah, hopefully, you know,
Get some bigger ones?
get some bigger ones today,
Okay.
and we'll see what happens.
Now, do you crappie bait live fish or a combination?
A combination of both. Now, with it being August, you know, it's not prime time. Normally, the middle of September to the 1st of December is prime time as far as our live bait for our smallmouth.
Gotcha.
As far as crappie, we do February, normally through the 1st of August for crappie. So,
All right.
you know, we stay pretty busy year round.
Very good. All right, well, we're ready to talk tank?
I'm ready.
So you've had a number of tanks. You kicked the tires up to 50. I think, did you even have a 12 one time, or was this a 20 was your smallest?
20 is the smallest.
And what you've learned about the 50 and the 20 was the height.
Yes.
So this is the short series. This is actually the same footprint as a 35, only 8 inches shorter.
Right.
So when you knock off, and it's, you know, 8 inches doesn't really seem like a lot, but it really is.
Well, and if you do it like we do it, and the reason I love having the tank up here in the front rather than the back, all the action's in the front. I'm catching my bait out of the front of the boat, and I'll have a customer up front, I'll have a customer in the back. So if I'm having to bait the customer in the
Right.
back, I can run the show with the tank. Well, when you design this short, it's perfect height
Yeah.
for sitting here driving and able to see over the bow of
Like
the
I
boat.
said, 8 inches just becomes a big roadblock.
Right,
Crazy, crazy. Plus that extra weight and water that you really didn't need.
right.
So all of our tanks they start at the signature series starts at a 20 gallon, and they go in increments of 15. So 20, 35, 50, 65, 80, and we jump to 100. And we took all those tanks, we cut them down. So a 20 becomes a 12, a 35 becomes a 23, and a 50 become a 32. So just depending on your boat or your dock or your truck or whatever, lower profile boats for sure,
Yes.
these shorter tanks came in.
And let me stop you with that. You know, I drive a Toyota Tundra. It's got a bed shell
Yep.
on the back. I could not take my other tank and put it
That's
in
exactly right.
and carry it. Where this one, when I got it, I loaded it right up, very easy, slid right in there, and hey,
Yep.
I can travel with my
You
tank.
probably had about an inch to spare.
Yes, sir.
Because most of those rails are right at 20. With this being 18, that's slide right in.
Yes, sir.
So here's some new things on this tank, other than the color, and that's a story in itself. We now have some multiple colors because of COVID and trying to get the standard black white material.
Yeah.
We had ordered it in 3 months ago, and they were supposed to have it in 30, 40, 60 days, something like that. And then they called and said it will be September. Like the month that's not even here yet, right? So we like, no. What else do you have that's white, that starts with white? And they came up with white, red, blue, brown, green. And so we ended up with multiple colors. So that's how that came all about. So, and I like it because like on your boat, it's matching your boat.
Oh, it is absolutely perfect.
Made for it.
I'm gonna tell you something that caught my eye that I have been wanting, and you know, with you being able to get in the boat with different guys,
right?
You know what we want, and it's really, really simple.
Yep.
These right here would have to be in my pocket.
Yep.
On the older tanks, and to be able to screw
Yep.
these in and have your customers flip the lid back and forth and not have to worry about these. I don't know where you got that idea, but that is a game changer.
So a customer, believe it or not, a lot of what goes into these tanks are feedback from customers. At least you didn't drop it over time.
There you go.
So we had requests from customers like, can you put something up here for that? And then we decided, well, absolutely. So that's how we came up with that. And the black wall is an example of a customer request. And we had been researching skipjack, and one of the things that skipjack we were told you had to have was a dark environment. Mm-hmm. And the only way to do that was to have darken the wall. And people were putting tape in there and trying to use paints and that kind of stuff. Well, we were actually able to order the same material but in black and use that for the inner wall. And when you shut this lid, it absolutely charcoal black. It's actually so black. The first one we made, we put with a black bottom. Even with the light on, in the daylight, you couldn't see the bait. Wow. The black just absorbed everything. So what we did away with the black bottom, and we put a white bottom, but with the black walls. And even though you got that color core here, so there's no light getting through this. Yeah. So you have a dark environment. And what we feel in the research, because we did some field R&D on this for about 8 months to a year. And what we discovered is all the feedback we got back on the few sheets that we had and the few tanks out there was the bait, not only was it alive overnight, like the skipjack. Right. That's a 15-minute bait. They were able to keep it for a day, sometimes 2 days. Wow. Exactly. And when they got them out, they were better than what they did when they put them in there. Yeah. So we had got that same report back with other baits as well. So I'm very anxious to see what it does for you with your yellowtail. Yes. And keeping them, because you were telling me as I already knew, but before bait tank, or when you had the bait tank before X-Treme, you had to catch your bait every couple of hours. Yes. Yes. So, and that gets into your customers getting aggravated. You know, you find a spot, you pull up on a spot, you catch 3 or 4 nice smallmouths, a couple of largemouth, and then you say, well, we've got to go. What do we got to go for? We've got to go get bait. Where now you can literally sit 5 to 6 hours, never have to move. Yeah. Plus, I don't have to worry about throwing my back out and throwing a net all day, you know, and that's huge as a guide. Yeah, I mean, for sure. But it's from you getting in the boat and actually seeing it for yourself. Yep. And to me, that separates you from the other bait companies. Is you're out here. It's August, and you're sitting in the boat. I know. Twist my arm, right? I mean, look at this. You know, you say if you love your job, you don't work a day in your life. Exactly. Well, I'm in that spot right now, but definitely, I learned it. Another thing that we learned was talking about the second pump on here. Yes. So your 35 gallons and up have 2 pumps automatically. So the nice thing about that is if you need 2 pumps, you got it. But if you have one that fails, which they will, you can survive on that one. So your day of fishing's not done. Right. The 12, the 20, and the short 23 only has the 1 pump. So what we did for you is we built in that second pump, not necessarily to run both of them, but just to have a built-in backup. Because we don't want you out here on the water again. Right. You're fishing, because you know as well as I do, if that tank stops, that bait's done. It's a matter of minutes. Yes. These are really life support systems for your bait. But all right, well, I think we're ready to catch some bait. Sounds good. All right, Brad. Hey, again, thanks again, and stay tuned. And we're gonna go baiting.